So happiness flipped the script. Not good enough to more than good renown. Atelophobia is the fear of not being good enough or not being perfect. At times, everybody has feelings of not being good enough. Have you wondered where your internalized message of, "I am not good enough," comes from? Do you ever feel like you give life your best, you work hard, but still believe you will never get it right or cannot give yourself credit? Do you constantly beat yourself up and think that you should somehow be more, do more, be better, and that you will never measure up to your own, or other people's, expectations of you? Over the years, case studies chronicle incredibly talented artists who gave up on their artistic talents or they hid their work because they believed it was not perfect or good enough. They were obsessed with making the rendering, creative output perfect, were never satisfied with their work, and carried the major fear of disappointing or letting people down. Molly Smith, a highly sought-after educator and mentor, career counselor to high school and college-age students, shared stories of parents placing undue pressure and expectation on their children to excel in all areas of their lives, which then placed an inordinate amount of pressure on the students to perform at levels that are often viewed by the students as unattainable. This, in turn, gave them subconscious messages that they were not good enough and that they would never be good enough, i.e., never meet their parents' expectations. The angst-ridden struggle for perfection in an environment teeming with hordes of high achievers and brilliant minds is fertile ground for the fear of not being perfect. It is a fear fueled by the race after an ever-elusive endpoint and the fear of not finishing the race at the front of the pack. Good enough is not a sufficient outcome, it is a sign of failure. Pratibha feelings of not being good enough, or the need for perfectionism, originate with messages from key influencers in life like parents, teachers, coaches, or other significant people who may have, intentionally or unintentionally, said or done something that you internalized as a truth and then adopted the belief as a core belief. It may have had no specific or valid basis in truth. You may have felt or believed that the influencer had placed undue pressure on you to do better, and you may have mistakenly interpreted what he or she said as a criticism of you as a person. However, the truth may have been that he or she genuinely believed in your potential and was only attempting to help. She or he may not have communicated it properly, or your interpretation may have been inaccurate. It is entirely your perception and your perspective that creates your reality. The good news is that you always have the power to change your perception and your perspective. It can be hard, in our culture, to force yourself to settle for good enough. But when it comes to happiness and satisfaction, good enough isn't just good, it's perfect. Olga Kazan feelings of not being good enough are one of the key issues why people seek out therapy and hypnotherapy. Many hypnotherapists utilize a protocol called regression to cause. This is where clients are guided back in time to when they first felt like they were not good enough, or when the limiting belief or disempowering seed was planted, after which it was adopted as a core belief. It is interesting to note that, most of the time when I have used this protocol, my clients would recognize that the belief that they are not good enough is faulty and misguided, and that it had no basis in truth. Often, they discover that the people, influencers, who planted the negative or limiting seeds had their own issues and, unwittingly or deliberately, acted out from their own feelings of inadequacy. What if it is true that your deepest fear is not that you are not good enough, but that you are greater than your wildest dreams? What if your deepest fear is that you have so much to offer this world, and you just did not know how to express it? What if you gave yourself permission to express your unique talents, gifts, and brilliance? What if, deep in your core, you knew that playing small was not what you are called to do? What if you knew that the only thing that matters is that you get up every day and give your best? What if you also knew that your best is always more than good enough, and you always do your best? What if you knew that the only person's expectation you must live up to is your own? Acorn, there is no such thing as failure, only feedback. You are more than good enough. Note, the term, good enough, can imply mediocrity or barely enough. So, you are more than good enough.